long time no see, but this is fine. It is fine to forget. It is fine to back up a bit. It is fine to just, let loose on some things from time to time. Of course, some very, 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 very important things should really be on point, at my point of view. Of course, sometimes this does also not have to be the case. It should just overall, be well done and be well off. You should be well off. You should be happy. You should be in a good mood. And, if you can do so, or if you can be so by just not overworking yourself and or by just, not taking everything so seriously, then this is just what you need to be doing. But in the end, being in a good mood and being happy and whatnot is what kind of counts, as well as just being healthy, even though they are kind of tied together to a certain degree. Of course, one thing influences the other thing, because I would argue that when you're pretty unhappy, you're also not going to feel too great physically, but also vice versa. I think that we all know that when being ill and we just really feel kind of depressed because we cannot do the things we want to do, but yeah, just feel good. Do everything you can to feel good about yourself, about your situation, and about the things you just can't change. Certain things we need to accept, certain things we need just to live with, and on the other hand, also really working on those things we can alter and we can change and we can do something about. This, I think, is a good recipe for, being quite well off and also relatively happy most often. It's not going to be 100%. It's not going to be always. It is what it is, It's fucking life. See you. Today in the evening, so currently it is 12 p.m. a.m. I really don't know. It is noon. If you die, let's just assume you die in the evening, but you're gonna get reborn, you're gonna just get resurrected, whatever, tomorrow morning. How are you gonna feel? You're probably gonna feel like, wow, some extra time, another life. I have been blessed with another day. Who knows what's gonna happen in just in the midst of this day, let alone in the next evening. Am I gonna die again? Am I gonna get a new day again? This is a very interesting thought process, I'd say, and a very interesting thought experiment, because, who does say that something bad, and I really do not hope this is gonna happen today in the evening, or maybe even now in a second or whatever. Quite a lot of things can happen, and seeing every day as some extra time, I'm just having some extra time, I'm just having an extra day, I'm having an extra second even. It just makes you appreciate everything way more and puts everything into perspective, like nothing that you're having, nothing that you're experiencing, nothing that you might be seeing as well, just when you're looking around in your room or when you're outside, what you're seeing there, nothing of these things should be taken for granted, because they are not. They could just go away in a fucking second by whatever force of nature, whatever might happen, I don't know, but it could. Theoretically, it could. So see your day, see your minute, see your second, see those people as not something granted, but something that, was borrowed to you, something that was borrowed to you by something, somebody, depends on what you believe in and other things, what you choose to believe in. And be sure that you do not forget that or just in a minute, in a day, in a year, you have to give it back. You have to give it back to the quote-unquote original owner, and you're going to lose this particular thing. Remind yourself of the fact that nothing in life is forever. Nothing. Have a nice day. People matter, especially when it comes to, not necessarily especially, but also when it comes to companies, If you're having a company, if you're having a firm, and you're treating people like shit, customers, employees, this is not gonna last well. Your company is not gonna last well. Of course, historically there were some companies that indeed treat their employees pretty poorly, But I would argue that was actually pretty late in that process. So I would really, first of all, appreciate and second of all, advise people to always be good to other people, because who knows what you're gonna need from them in the future. Or maybe you're just gonna need something in the future from them. Help, advice, whatever it may be, it just really makes sense to just always be as good to them as you can. Of course, you're gonna meet people that are absolutely shit to you, that are treating you like just a piece of crap, and it is what it is. But in the end, when you're seeing something, when you are facing a situation, it is your reaction and you yourself that actually makes you feel a certain way. It is not about the other person and or the situation per se. So always treat people right. Always try to make them feel as good as, feel as good as they can, unless it boils down to you kind of, lying about things to some degree. When I say, okay, you look good in the shirt, but I think that it looks absolutely horrible, you shouldn't do that. But if you think long term, if you think about your life, if you think actually logically, it makes sense to be a good person and be nice to other people. Period. You're also going to feel good about it. Guess what? It's also going to be beneficial for you. So do that. I have uploaded 1,548 videos up to this point. Apparently I have 89 subscribers. According to my YouTube analytics, it's 133. In total, there are 21,000 views. And when we scroll down a bit, this is like, per month or on a weekly basis, this is 300 views. And per month, 1,407. This is like, monthly gained views. It's just, going down by quite a bit, to be honest. And that is not everything. On Instagram, we have 5,345 posts and 812 followers. And this amount of work does not consider other platforms, like TikTok or Twitter or, the podcast is the same as the YouTube videos most often, and so on and so forth. So in total, it is really a lot of stuff that I did. And what have I achieved? Well, nothing notable. I've been doing this for 3 years now, I guess, maybe even 4. And nothing pretty much has happened. And I'm the only one to be blamed. Or to blame. I'm the only one that is in charge of everything, Of course I can say, okay, people should subscribe and watch my videos, but apparently they're not good enough. Apparently there's something that I'm doing that is wrong. I might just have not figured things out yet. Or maybe this will never ever work. I don't know. The point of this video is, some things just fail. And also the amount of time that I spent on just researching happiness and talking about happiness in those 1,500 videos is also substantial. Am I happy? Well, most often actually not quite. But the thing is, what am I trying to say? I'm trying to say that things also can go wrong. And, everything that one sees on social media or whatnot may not be true or the truth. And, this is just what it is for me. And one has to accept that and or work on it, We can respond. We have responsibility. But, it is what it is, See it as something as it is. And by the way, you could look everything up. These are real numbers, if you want to. But I guess you believe in me or trust me or whatever. Yo, Annie Namir, what's up? No. Something rather maybe useful. Quite. I don't know. But, Google can actually give you quite a ton of good advice. Obviously, not everything is great. Obviously, a bunch of it is just actually pretty shit and should not be followed. But
I think if you go through many sources and if you have a look at many sources, you're gonna just notice pretty quickly what is good and what is bad, what is useful and what isn't, you know. There's actually really a ton of things you can find on Google or other search engines, you know. Maybe you also use Bing or DuckDuckGo, whatnot, to actually also find those other sources and those other things. But, very big but, I often think about books, you know, and other sources of information, and I'm just merely thinking about it as a medium. The internet, is quite a medium, a book is a medium, but it is not really about the medium. It's not about how you consume information, you know. It is about the information per se that is actually important, you know. If the information is shit, well then, even if it is in a book, it doesn't matter, it is still shit, you know. Why should I consume it then? Why should I follow it then? Doesn't make any sense. So this is part of the reason why I think that books are a bit quote-unquote overrated. But of course, every single medium does indeed have certain characteristics. Whereas on Google or the internet in general, you really have to search for things. A book can provide it to you. A book is just very widely spread in terms of its information. You can get a ton of different things just because it is in this one book, and you just have to go through it quite if you want to finish the book. But on Google, you actually have to search for it most often, unless, of course, you read articles, and also depends on the article and whatnot, and the author and whatnot. But for example, on Wikipedia, you basically get what you're searching for, you know, unless you kind of then randomize things and whatnot, but nobody's doing that. So every medium is indeed just has good sides and bad sides, but I wouldn't necessarily say that one is better than the other one. Maybe and probably makes sense to use all of them. So first of all, don't really want to bullshit around and be like, oh yeah, it's gonna be fine in the end and whatnot, and you know, time heals every wound and some shit like this. No, not really. The thing is, I had to deal with the exact same thing as well to some degree, and I guess a lot of people have as well. If you have done everything that you can do to quote unquote get this person, you know, and it really also depends on the whole context of it, but I guess you can translate that into various different forms and various different constructs of situations. If you've done everything that you can to get a certain person, you know, so that there is a relationship and whatnot, and it didn't work out, well, then it is out of your control. If you really did everything, it is out of your control. And things that are outside of our control should not really be disturbing us, you know. We shouldn't really be caring about anything that is out of our control, because we cannot control it. Like, it is unnecessary to deal with it. On the other hand, just some bit more practical thing, I guess. Distract yourself to some degree. Do something, work on yourself, and yes, it is a pretty cliche thing, but doing stuff that you like, meeting a lot of people, getting to know a lot of people, making this maybe even a goal to just get to know as many people as you can, I think is really useful. Because on the other hand, you're probably also going to get to know other girls, other really interesting and cool people, which is going to be really helpful in the end in your life. You know, connections really do matter. And sometimes even therapy, you know, it obviously really depends on the situation and really depends on the context here. But also just talking to people. Sometimes you really get caught up in a certain world that is actually not reality, and we kind of praise people and think that they are just a goddess and whatnot, even if they aren't, you know. Sometimes it just tends to lose reality, and it is very important to, you know, also journal, but especially talk to people so that you get feedback, you know, feedback whether you're seeing or saying or doing and whatnot, if this is actually good or if this is even reality. So these are my 3 points. I hope I was able to help and do something.